we will go ahead and get started. Today is June 5th, 2021. We are here at the Cecilton Community Center in Cecilton, Maryland, recording community memories of the Levi J. Coppin School. So officially for the record, do you mind just stating for us your name and your connection to the Levi Coppin School?
My name is Reba Green Scott. At the time when I attended Levi J. Coppin School, I was a student there, and my teacher was Mrs. Helen Harris, and I also had Miss Celestine Briscoe for a small amount of time. I truly love my teachers, and I remember when Miss Briscoe first brought Kim to Levi J. Coppin when she was a baby. She had on a little pink dress and white booties, and a white bonnet on her head with pink roses on it. And she was so proud of Kim. She went to each classroom and showed her off. And with Miss Harris taught us a lot of things, and math, English, and history. Also, we had King and Queen contests. And whoever won the King and Queen contest, well, we went to New York City. And also, field day was really wonderful. There was a lot of ribbons and a lot of games that we partaked in. Also, the school was used for concerts that was affiliated with the church at that time. Miss Harris was my babysitter. When my mom was working, she would take me home with her because my mom would not let me go to stay with anyone. So Miss Harris offered to be the babysitter. She made sure I did my work, homework, or whatever before we looked at TV, dinner, or whatever she had to do. So, and she always told me, make sure you do your work, make sure you do whatever you're supposed to, you will succeed in life. So Miss Harris was truly a mentor. So I give all praises to God, and I thank her for the things that she has done for me, and also Miss Briscoe. If it wasn't for Miss Harris, I wouldn't be where I am today, along putting God first, and also my parents. But Miss Harris instilled in me, and what I saw in her enabled me to be a preschool teacher. So I'm just thankful for that. I'll miss Levi J. Coppin, but it will always be in my heart.
So you had mentioned, that was interesting, some of the school activities you had mentioned. So the King and Queen contest. So you said that the winner got to go on a trip to New York City.
Yes.
Was that with, was that like a class trip, or was that?
Yes, it was. It was a class trip, but the winner's ticket was paid for. So we went to see the Statue of Liberty, which was wonderful. And I remember the bus that Miss Harris would get was Pinkett's at that time. It was Pinkett's coach.
That was an annual, that was a yearly event?
Yes, it was.
Interesting.
And Miss Harris used to play the piano, and we'd have concerts, and we would always do square dances, which was a lot of fun. And I remember her and Miss Briscoe doing do-si-do so that we could see how we, perform. Also putting on Christmas plays. It was just a wonderful school, and we had a tight bond.
It's definitely the common thread I'm missing with that. So you would also mention that the community would use the school. So the church, the church would have concerts in there.
Yes.
Were there any other, as far as you can recall, was there anybody else that would use the school?
Some of the parents, we would have movie night, but it was during the time when you had the old time movie machines. And they would use the kitchen for dinners. And I remember Miss Harris taking maybe a group of us in the kitchen, and we had to clean chitlins up. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, they taught us how to cook. We had life skills and different things like that. But the big thing was cleaning maybe 100 pounds or more chitlins. And cooking the chitlins there and having the dinner, and the smell just went straight through the school.
So after Levi Coppin, what was the next step in your school experience?
Okay, when I went to Levi J. Coppin from there, I went to George Washington Carver in Elton.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to Bowman, where I graduated.
So you went to George Washington Carver, then would that have been for junior high school then?
Yes,
Okay.
because I left there in the 9th grade.
Okay. And what were some of the memories you have about George Washington Carver School?
The basketball games and the history classes. And we had a teacher named Mr. Franklin. And I hated history when I first went there. But being in his class taught us a lot. I remember him, if you didn't follow directions, he had a ruler. And you would have to hold your hand out and he would tap your hand with that ruler. But he instilled a lot of good things in us.
So, as far as, so were you riding a bus every day from Cecilton to George Washington Carver, or did you have to provide your own transportation?
Well, when I first went to George Washington Carver, my mother took me back and forth from Cecilton to Elton every day. And then eventually we had the bus, because during that time it was segregation. So, but, and people were just scared to, entrust their children riding the bus. But then after that, things started settling down. And then we went to ride the bus. Because that was during the time when Martin Luther King and different things, and also had to attend Washington, D.C. for the marches. And it was frightening, the things that you saw when you was on the bus.
Sure. And then to make the transition, so just again, just for the record, so about what time period did you go from George Washington Carver to Bowman?
Okay, I went from George Washington Carver to 10th grade at Bowman. And we were the second group with 7 black students that attended Bowman. And we didn't have any problems. It was a wonderful experience. But even during the class activities, my favorite part of it was history, biology, and singing. So that was the music part. So, and we had a teacher at George Washington Carver named Mr. Brown. And he would throw a baton at your feet and make you hold your stomach in order for you to pronunciate in your notes and for the pinch your nose and just teach you how to sing. So I remember all of those things, and which was really experience.
Yes. And then you mentioned too that so Mrs. Harris was the person that inspired you to become an educator yourself.
Yes.
And were you a teacher in the area in Cecil County?
Well, when the annex, Levi Coppin, when they closed it down, and then it became the Cecilton Annex, they had the Head Start program there, so I was head teacher and center director. And so, but because of her, this helped me to be where I am today.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us?
I'm just thankful that I was a student at Levi Coppin. I'm thankful for Mrs. Helen Harris and Miss Celestine Briscoe. Miss Jordan came later on, and I remember her also. And she would teach cooking and other classes. So I remember going to her maybe once or twice, but my real teachers were Miss Harris and Miss Briscoe. And I just loved them. And we had a close bond. So, and Miss Harris, like I said, would keep me. I would stay there overnight. I think I went to Miss Briscoe's house like twice, because Miss Harris had to go somewhere.
So Mrs. Harris, so all the teachers lived in Cecilton? Mrs. Harris, Miss Briscoe?
Miss Briscoe lived in Chestertown.
Oh, that's right. That was,
and Miss Harris was in Fredericktown, Maryland.
Okay. Well, excellent. Well, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I did. So Mrs. Harris would have movie nights for you?
Yes.
What was that? I mean, how did that work? What do you remember about it?
Well, like I said, it was an old-time movie machine. So she would take the record player and play the words to it. So this is how we watched the movies. And then she would go in the kitchen and pop the popcorn, and so we would sit in class. But we didn't have the vocal with the movie, but it was a record player, the old-time record player with the
I like the silent movies.
Would she ever take you to the, could she or would she ever, could you ever go to this class to the theater over here?
No, we never went there. We always had the movie night at the school.
And what did you think about going to Elton? It must have seemed like a big place in comparison.
It was when I first went there. I was kind of scared,
Yes.
but after being there for a small amount of time, we found that the teachers cared for us there too. But it wasn't like being at Levi J. Coppin.
Yeah. Well, it's so
And-
small.
Right, and when I first went to Levi J. Coppin, I didn't want to leave my mom. And I remember Miss Harris running out the door to catch me, and I was crying because I wanted to go home.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate you
Thank
being here. All right, well, welcome. Today is June 5th, 2021. We are here at the Cecilton Community Center in Cecilton, Maryland, and recording community memories of the Levi J. Coppin School. So, for the record, do you mind to state for us your name and your connection to the Levi Coppin School?
Okay, well, my name is Maxine. It was Maxine Wise then. Of course, now it's Maxine Wise Ash. And I'm connected to Levi J. Coppin, and I've been way, way back because when we first started, we were in the old school, and we had a potbelly stove, and kept us warm. I mean, 'cause they kept it poured up. But of course, back then it took a village, and it was like a village because everyone knew everyone else. And when we got Levi J. Coppin School, oh my, it was just a blessing because everything was modern, you know, and it was just so nice. Miss Harris was my principal, and during that time, Miss Margie Smith was one of my teachers, and then Miss Briscoe. And we had a lot of good times, and everybody got along with everybody. And one thing, even though they taught us a lot, they loved us. They loved us, and we loved them. And Miss Margie, I started off with, and then after I got, I think like the 5th or 6th grade, I got Miss Briscoe, and she was truly a dresser. I mean, she was sharp all the time. Not that the other two weren't, but she just stood out. And I said, I wanted to be like her when I grew up. And anyway, my grandmother had a flower garden, and I kept both desks filled with flowers from her garden, and they could count on that every week. And like they said, we had May Day, we had Field Day, and it was just a beautiful environment to be in because they taught us a lot and prepared us to go to high school. So I went to high school, went to Carver and Yelton, and rode the school bus every day. So it was a very good experience. And when I came past the school today and just seen just rubble, it kind of just broke my heart because it's been there for so long. And I have so many fond memories, made a lot of friends. And like I say, we were all friends, we were all neighbors. And everybody loved everybody. It was just a good environment to be in, to grow up in. And when little Kimmy was born, oh my, we were just overjoyed. And when Miss Briscoe went on leave, we had a little thing that first time anybody found out, we wanted to know what she had, whether it was a girl or a boy. And then when we finally found out she was a girl, oh my goodness, we just had a ball. We had a ball. So, like I say, it was a good growing up, a good experience, the whole thing. I didn't really get to know Miss Jordan that well because I was in high school by the time she came to Coppin. So, but over the years, I got to see her at different functions and everything, and got to know her then. But anyway, It was a beautiful time.
And you had, so you had mentioned you had started your education in the old Cecilton School. Where was that located in connection to Levi?
Right across the road.
It was just right across the street.
It's a big brick house there now, where the old school used to be.
So the school's not there, but there's something
Right.
standing there now. So with the old school in Cecilton, that was a one-room, was that a one-room schoolhouse? Okay. So I'm sure it was probably a major upgrade moving across the street to a newer school building.
Yeah, it was a good experience. It was a good experience, yes. I'm not trying to tell you my age now.
So as far as going to George Washington Carver, so that's where you spent your entire junior and senior high school?
From 7th grade to 12th grade, I was at Carver.
And do you have any specific memories from George Washington Carver that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, my. Yes, Carver was wonderful years at Carver. Under Mr. Caldwell,
And he was the principal, correct?
yes. And I never got the rule. He had a great big stick, like a rule stick. And when the boys or girls ever got out of whack or whatever, I never got that. I made sure of that. I wanted to be a good girl. Plus, I knew if I got in trouble and they told my mom, she didn't do a whole lot. She did whip me, but she believed in punishment. And that punishment was worse than the whipping. Because a lot of times, I think on my 17th birthday, I had done something that I wasn't supposed to do. I think I came home and started watching TV instead of doing my homework. And when she came home, she found out that I was doing that. And when I was 17, she said, my birthday was coming up. And she said, well, you won't have a pretty good birthday this year because I'm punishing you for 2 weeks. And I said, oh, that's not bad, because I know when my birthday comes, she's going to forget that. Oh, no. She didn't forget. And I was still under punishment. But Carver was very good. I met a lot of friends, and I had 3 girlfriends that I met in the 7th grade. And to this day, we're still good friends. And when one of us' birthday comes, we all go out and we celebrate together. After it's been over 60 years. So we are very close, and we just had a good time at Carver, and it was a good experience. And I was glad to have that experience growing up, because it was really good. The teachers there were like the teachers at Coppin. They loved us, and we loved them. And they taught us a lot. So I have very good memories, very good memories.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us for the record?
No, it's just that I'm going to miss seeing that school and that spot, since it's been there for so long. And then when you really connected to the AME church that I belong to, we thought that Levi was buried in one of our cemeteries, but it was his brother that was buried there. So we had a connection, you know. So that was a good memory also. That's all.
Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Miss Helen Harris taught me how to play the piano until I was in the 7th grade. And she said after I got in high school, she said it wasn't any use trying to keep it up because I didn't have a piano home. Plus, I was a little wild, crazy by that time. But Miss Harris was also a neighbor. It was one house in between my mom's house and her house. And we all became good friends. Miss Harris and her husband, and my mother and my stepfather. They all became good friends. And they used to go on trips together from time to time, and used to play pinochle a lot, and just have a good time. So they were good neighbors, and we were good neighbors to them. That's all I have to say about that. I wish I had kept the piano playing.
Well, hello. Well, welcome to today's June 5th, 2021. We are here at the Cecilton Community Center in Cecilton, Maryland, and we are here to collect community memories about the Levi J. Coppin School. So, just for the record, if we can start by having you just state your name and your connection to the Levi Coppin School.
Yes, my name is Beverly Hollingsworth, maiden name Wilmore, on the Wilmore Girls. And I went to Levi J up until 4th grade. And as I was sitting there listening to everybody talking, I was like, wow, I can't sit here any longer. I think I gotta say something even though I'm not good at this, but there were just so many good times there. Unbelievable. They already told you it was like a family, and we really were. I mean, the teachers there, they cared about, they loved us, and we knew they loved us. You know, it's like what teacher takes kids home with them, you know, to spend a weekend. And Miss George, she's not here, but she was one that did that. And like we always went on trips, and she was saying about field day and May Day. We just got to do so many things. And those teachers, they were lovely. I tell you, Miss Harris, I didn't have her, but certainly she was still a big part of everything because she was the principal. Miss Briscoe and Miss Jordan were my two teachers, and I loved them, and they were just great, and they just cared about us, and we knew they did, you know. And funny, I mean, it's probably, but I can remember, you know, they taught us a lot of things, and you learn dental and all that stuff at home, but in school, you know, they actually had like this dentist, you know, that came in, and we had to do these tests, and you had to take something, you know, and put it in your mouth, and then you showed your teeth to say if you were really brushing your teeth. So you were really brushing your teeth every day, and I'm proud of it because they were like, oh my goodness, you did so well. Look, there's hardly no glue on your teeth. And I can remember that. And you know, and it stuck with me. And I try to do that all the time, but you know, it's like little things like that you remember. And you know, it's like they just cared. They did. It was a wonderful experience. And I'm sorry that some of the kids today don't get to experience what we did. You know, they'll never get, you know, to go stay with teachers, or it's just a lot, and just caring about you, just the people caring about you, and family, and you know, like they knew our mothers and fathers, you know, it's like, so you know you better be doing right, because if not, they would be calling Helen, you know, and reporting, you know, and so it's like, you growing up and up, you learn, you had a good time, but you learned too, because they knew your parents, and because it was family. So, yeah, it was wonderful times.
So you had, so Mrs. Harris was the principal, and then you had Miss Jordan and Mrs. Briscoe, and then, am I missing anybody?
No, because I had Miss Briscoe for first and second, and then I had Miss Jordan for third and fourth. And another thing is remember when Miss Jordan got married, because when she came, she was Miss Griffin. And that's all we know, Miss Griffin. And then they told us that she was getting married, and I was like, wow, it's like you can't call her Miss Griffin anymore. And it was hard trying to remember not to call her Miss Griffin. We had to change it. No, it's Mrs. Jordan. But we got it. We got it. Yeah.
So you said you were here until the 4th grade. So then at that point, where did you go after you left Levi Coppin?
At 4th grade, then I had to go to Cecilton Elementary.
Okay, so this would have been when the school closed.
When the school closed, yes. Yeah.
Alrighty. And then as far as like when you made the transition from Levi Coppin to Cecilton, do you feel that there was the same community there as there was at Cecilton Elementary as there was at Levi Coppin?
Well, it wasn't quite the same. I mean, you know, of course it was a difference, you know. Miss Briscoe was there, so I mean, at least she still had a familiar face. But, you know, all in all, it worked out. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't as close. No, not as close as what we had, but, you know, it wasn't a bad experience.
And Mrs. Briscoe, so was she the only teacher from Levi Coppin that transferred to Cecilton? Or-
I think Miss Griffin, my, listen, I'm calling Miss Griffin. I think Mrs. Jordan might have, I can't remember. Getting older now, I can't remember.
That's okay. Yes. So, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us then?
No, just that, you know, there was just so many good times, and I'm certainly happy that I got to experience them, you know. I wish everybody could have experienced all the good stuff that we did, you know. It was wonderful times.
Was Mrs. Harris much of a disciplinarian?
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. You put the hand up.
What was that?
You get the ruler. You know, you did something bad. Yeah.
Did you know Mr. Caldwell from Elkton? Or did you
I
meet
did
him?
not know him. I heard about it, but I didn't know him.
Folks up there say something similar.
Similar to that, I know because my husband tells me those stories because he went to Carver. So yeah, he told me about Mr. Caldwell, but I didn't know him.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
All right, welcome. Today is June 5th, 2021. We are here at the Cecilton Community Center in Cecilton, Maryland, recording community memories about the Levi J. Coppin School. So, to start us off, I'm just going to have you, just for the record, can you share with us your name and your connection to the Levi Coppin School?
Sure. My name is Kim Briscoe Moody, and my mom, Celestine Briscoe, she worked at the school, was a teacher there for 30 years. But actually, she started at that school, then she moved around to the Cecilton Elementary School.
Okay.
So she definitely is a just a great memorial to that school. Yeah.
So, what is her background and how did she end up coming to the Levi Coppin School?
She went to Bowie State College, so she got her undergraduate degree there. But then she came and she started working in Cecilton. And as Ms. Young shared, she was under Mrs. Harris as her principal. And we lived in Chestertown. So all my life, you know, in terms of the 30 years that she was, you know, practicing and teaching, educating here in this county, she traveled from Chestertown up here, and then, like I said, she moved around to the other schools. So once segregation was over, she moved around to the Cecilton Elementary School. And so then she continued to pursue her education. She got her master's at NYU in New York. So, and actually she lived with this lady who was like a grandmother to me. Her name was Mrs. Smith. So she lived in the community, and you know, which was right around from the school. And then after that, then she got married to my dad, and then here I came, and all that, and everybody became like a family. It was an extended family.
So she was boarding with somebody up here, and then,
Yes.
Okay.
She was born with someone, and then after that, then she got married. My dad courted her up here, and then they got married, and they got their own home, and the rest. So here I am.
Nice. So, what were do you recall some of her memories of Levi Coppin School? Was there anything that she shared with you?
All these people in here. So, but truly, you know, they became family. You know, they remember when I was in my mama's stomach cooking, and they said that she used to sleep. I'm sorry, maybe y'all didn't get the most at that time, but she used to eat potato chips, and she used to sleep a lot. Probably I was putting that on her, but anyway. So, and then I can remember like all the different families in this community, you know, as I was growing up, and they became like my extended family, you know, and they embraced me and took me in, and they go, that's Miss Briscoe's daughter, that's Kimmy, that's Miss Briscoe's daughter. And they have seen me grow up. And then Mrs. Harris, who I called Aunt Helen, though she was my mother's principal, right? It was just a joy because it was like she became my aunt. her and her husband, Aunt Helen and Uncle Elmer. And just how, Mr. Amos and Miss Evelyn, they became a part of our family, and I can remember us all coming together and going to their house, and he would have a garden, and she would pack us up with a lot of food when my mom would stop through coming back down the road, even after she retired. And so it just was a family. And then Miss Young, she was my mother's aide for so many years, and my mom would pick her up, coming through from Chestertown, pick her up, and they would ride together for 30-some years. And that was great. So I knew her children. So that was a part of an extended family, and then I'm not gonna start naming names, but like I said, those families in this community, became, an extended family for us. And then my cousins who are here with me, they knew them. So we would all come out for field day and just enjoy that and just have a good time. It was a good time. It was a good time.
So it sounds like you were, growing up, you were a part of the school community as well.
Exactly. Though we lived in Kent County, so I didn't go to school here, so this is Cecil County, of course. So, but definitely, and as I became in high school, we didn't play Bomana, right? So I didn't have to see them as an arch rival, so they were still a part of my family.
Nice. So the school's integrated in 1965. So after Levi Coppin closed, she transferred to Cecilton Elementary School.
Exactly.
And she ended up, how long was she teaching there afterwards?
I don't know. Let's do the math. I don't know. A long time. So she started teaching. My mom retired when I was a senior. Actually, I went to Howard University. So I was a senior my last year, 4 years, and she said, I'm gonna give you 4 years, and after that I'm retiring. And I am not going to go up this man's highway anymore. So one of the things that is so memorable for me is that, my mom, every day, going back and forth, right? And at that time, it seemed like a long ways, but it's really not a long ways. So it seemed like a long way, but when it snowed or when it was ice, my mom would say, I am not going up that highway. And so I can remember, I believe that, she was going down Olivet Hill. And I think she had some kids that she may have, kind of slid on the ice. And that put fear in her in terms of saying, I am not going to do that. So she refused to come up here in any bad weather, regardless if school was open or not. She refused to come up here. And because she just was afraid. And then after that, so she get back to when she retired. When I was a senior in college, she was like, now you may have another year, you may want to get a doctorate, but I am done. I'm gonna give you 4 years to go help you towards your education. And that's what she did. So she basically told my father, it's not like today you have a conversation, so she basically told me, I am not going up that man's highway anymore. I am done. And so she handed in her papers and she retired at age 51.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And then after retirement, was she still connected with the school community?
Not as much. I mean, she did still definitely, because like I said, it became an extended family. So there was still definitely a strong connection. She, in Kent County, she never taught in Kent County, though she lived in Kent County all her life. But then she would do some tutoring in Kent County and go into the schools, especially in Black History Month, go read to the kids. So she enjoyed that. She loved children, and she loved to see children, mature and then become responsible adults.
And then just for the record, so about what time frame are we talking about for her teaching career?
She taught, so in 1951, that's when she started teaching, right? And then she stopped teaching in 1980, 81, 82.
Okay.
Yep, she stopped teaching then.
Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
And another lady, Mrs. Jordan, she is coming. So like we said, it was primarily the principal, Mrs. Harris, Mrs. Jordan, and my mom. And she became like an auntie as well. So I was sharing with someone, I didn't even know her really at a young age as Mrs. Jordan. I knew her as Miss Sissy. So that's how close, that community was. And, you going in and out of their homes and, everyone supporting each other. And even in tough times, deaths or births or whatever, the community came together and celebrated with each other.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thank
I
you.
have a question. Why did she not teach in Kent County? Was it not easier than to commute? Because it was kind of a long distance in those days, right?
Yeah, and those, I actually do not know.
Yeah.
So when I get to heaven, I'm gonna answer.
Maybe
I'm
they,
gonna make sure that that's a question. But I did
could
not
be they
know.
paid better up here or
It
something.
may have been the
Yeah,
pay was
yeah.
better, but I do not know why she did not pursue
Okay.
her career in K County.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
thanks.
All right, well, thank